can see the coins and the companies that are really rising to the top were community first, and then everybody else comes behind that. So I just see the market growing rapidly from here.
Welcome to Blockchain North, everyone. Today I have a very special interview for you. I am speaking with Mahyar Akhbari, who is one of the main co-founders of Futurist. Who doesn't know what Futurist is in Canada? Of course, the major blockchain event in the country, in Toronto, in August every year. And we've got some exciting news to share this year, so this one will be one to watch. Also stay till the end because, like with every interview, I'll be asking Mahyar for his predictions for 2024 and beyond. Let's see what he shares with us. Mahyar, a big welcome to you.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me, Flo. Appreciate it. You've been a longtime partner of the conference and a big supporter of Canada in general in the blockchain space. So thank you for having me.
That's always nice to hear, of course. Yeah, I mean, we definitely are running on parallel tracks, but to give credit where credit is due, you guys have been at it way, way longer than I have. So why don't I start by asking you just a quick introduction to yourself, to Futurist, and also how you guys, decided to launch what is not just Canada's main event, but a major, multi-day event like this.
Yeah. So for the listeners not knowing, my name is Mahyar. I am the co-founder of Blockchain Futurist Conference, ETH Toronto, ETH Women, our event series, and Canada Crypto Week. We've been in the space. So I've been in the space since 2013 when our company Untraceable was brought to life. And let me give a little background of how I started. So 2013 in crypto terms is ancient, if you will. But we were lucky enough through some friend connections to be introduced to a incubator space called Decentral. It was on Spadina Street. And what a lot of people don't know, and I don't think the city of Toronto does a great job of promoting this, is that Ethereum was born out of that incubator space. At that time, Vitalik, Anthony Diorio, Charles Hoskinson, all these guys came through that little house on Spadina Street. Lucky enough, I heard through some friends about Bitcoin, and at that time, and I got very interested because my background to that was I was in banking for 8 years prior to getting into crypto all the time. So when you would show up to those meetups, that's where I met our other co-founder, where she was the marketing manager of the incubator space at that time. And we were hosting these meetups. I was a volunteer. We were hosting these meetups about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then later became Ethereum meetups, which were about 10 people. Then it was like 10 people in a bar. We were lucky to have people talk about Bitcoin at the time. And then we, as crypto started growing and Ethereum started growing, those 10 people turned into, 30 people a week, then 40 people a week, then 1,000 people a week. And we had to keep finding spaces and things were getting crazy. So within that time period, we're lucky enough, our other co-founder, Tracy, was working with some of the early founders of Ethereum. And when they asked her, what kind of skill set do you have? She put her hand up because she came from the events world and decided that, hey, we can run events. So that started by becoming the first Bitcoin Expo in Canada and the first Ethereum event ever in the world. Moved into many Ethereum events all over the world, starting with the ETH hackathons and ETH Waterloo. And then we went to Hong Kong, Bahamas. We did first of everything, Chicago, Australia. We ran events all over the world promoting the industry, trying to get as many people into the space. And in 2018, all of us being from Canada and the Toronto market, we thought, hey, Canada needs a national conference. There has a very outsized crypto community and people don't really understand this. One of the things that I tell folks is because, especially Toronto, had so many early onset projects come out of Ethereum, like Cosmos, like Polymath, these companies that ended up doing big things over the last decade. There is a huge network of crypto people and crypto developers within the GTA area. And if you ask any company right now, when you go to these big conferences, hey, do you have a Canadian on the team? Everyone will say at least we have one Canadian on the team. It's like the token thing to have in the crypto world is one Canadian. So that's a little bit of background from me. It's a little bit of background on the crypto community here. So I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, an absolute OG. I said the same to Tracy when I interviewed her last year. Is very worthwhile, reminding people how long you've been around because that's very impressive. And not just around in crypto, but organizing events in crypto in Canada. But you guys have, of course, also done events internationally, worth perhaps mentioning too. So you guys have an unprecedented access viewpoint. You've seen the community evolve, again, very, very directly in front of your eyes, interacting with, not just the developers, of course, through your hackathons, but also the sponsors. And surely you've gone through the ups and downs in many ways over the last 10 years. What is your sense of where we are at right now globally in the crypto market? And then we'll hone in a bit on Canada.
Well, like you said it, I've lived through many ups and downs so far in the crypto market, but every immature industry has those ups and downs. And what I've always noticed is how many developers are coming on site, how many people are coming into the economy that are tied to the blockchain industry, how many services are happening, and that's where you really see the growth. The one great thing about being a event producer, so take away technology, you get a general sense of all happenings by general feel of talking to so many different people. So globally, every morning, like I'm talking to someone from Asia, then I'm talking to someone from Europe, I'm talking to someone in North America, all around the conference. But that gives me a really good gauge on what's being built, what people are thinking, if there is money to sponsor, that usually means the market is going in a certain direction. And I could have told you like about 6 months ago, just from my discussions in December, I knew like that something was happening. I knew like a bull market was coming. I just didn't know how fast and where we would be. Obviously, no one can predict that, but like you could feel the general sense by being a conference producer.
Yeah, for sure you can. So now you've explained to me that you do have a good sense of the market. Where are we at in this market? I mean, it seems to me, depending on who you listen to or what element of the industry you look at, people will focus on the devs, other people will focus on policy or perhaps on venture capital. I know that's usually not good in Canada, but globally, like, is your sense that we have reached some kind of a tipping point? For instance, we posted in our newsletter 2 weeks ago that, or maybe it was last week, that Trump has now, presented himself as the crypto president, and then following that, we heard that the Democrats have been courting, crypto companies. There's a super PAC right now in the U.S. With I think $160 million for advocacy, which is I think already one of the largest super PACs ever, which is insane. I mean, all these things I suppose are good signs, but is that really a tipping point for you, or is this industry clearly anchored and here to stay now?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought it wasn't anchored and here to stay. I think that this is the best time to ever be in cryptocurrency in the history of its history, I guess.
Now I need to know why.
Some say 2009 is when it came together. So we're almost there at 2 decades, right? So if you look at it now, like if someone told me last year the 2 ETFs would have been approved, I would have said, I don't know about that, in the bear market that we were in. But now the access and the different points that anybody can have a touch point to crypto, and it's not such a scary term anymore. Actually, they've even changed the term. It's called Web3 now. So Web3, right, is being injected into almost every industry in the world. When we talk to other events that we know of, they're trying to bring Web3 to anything that it could actually touch, outside of it just being trading, the exchanges, and kind of the lifeblood of the crypto industry. The policymakers, Canada's stance on crypto has been very laid out and much better known than the United States. The crypto president, Trump, is going to really blow the top off if that is the case, and he does really fully endorse it. To be honest with you, overall in the world, the last stat I heard, and I don't even know if this is true, we'd have to look it up, but it's about 6% of the world owns wallets, right? Where are we? Like, what happens when it becomes 20%, right? Yeah. Like, if we're at a tipping point, it is a tipping point right now. I think the one thing about the industry that people don't, that people always question about is like, oh, these massive gains that have always happened, like these big jumps that happen. We can actually expect that to probably slow down, but it's going to be longer over time. It will continuously go in that direction, right? So it is a great place to be. I think it's the best time ever to be in crypto. And you can tell that by the amount of people we have changing industries. So when you see a lot of people coming from regular Web 2 tech into Web 3, when you see these companies, like when I talk about the large scale companies, like the Coinbases of the world, they're such mature companies now. You know, they have multiple departments, multiple country offices, like things that, you know, we would never see 10 years ago, right? And in the traditional world, you know, your Amazons, all these guys, they're just like that, right? It's great to see it. There's a maturity factor that's happening here. Now that does have like its dark corners, crypto, right? So, but the overall arching story is that this is the best time to be in crypto, and is by far the most mature this industry has ever been, and it's really headed in the right direction.
So again, based on the fact that you have such unique vantage point on the industry, what would you say are the top 3, 4, maybe 5 mega trends within crypto globally right now?
Yeah, so mega trends, obviously, a lot of people are calling it meme summer. It was more like a meme spring, but turning into a meme summer. It's a little late, if you will, but meme coins have completely exploded. I think it's so much to do with the actual technology like Solana has brought to the industry. You know, the edges of what crypto's doing right now is the meme culture. It's the bonk bots, if you know what bonk bots are, on, you know, Telegram, and how easy it is to access to trade. These are things that are kind of revolutionizing that industry and that part of the meme world. The second part is DeFi. Like there was DeFi summer, they called it last year, but the truth is DeFi has kind of grown up and has been accepted by institutionalized players.
Yeah.
So we're going to see another wave of really sophisticated DeFi platforms this year, if we haven't already. You know, there's some big ones coming to the conference this year, like CrossFi Finance. There's Canine Finance. There's other ones that are really playing in very particular spaces. You know, tokenized bonds and things like that. You're going to see sophisticated Wall Street instruments on chain is probably the next big trend that you're going to see. And then everyone on earth is talking about real world assets. Real world assets, they've been around forever, like securitizing assets and art and real estate, and it has a very bright future. But when BlackRock started talking about it, calling it real world assets, you see the general trend changing. You see it with companies changing their marketing and changing everything they're doing. In many countries, they're taking a big step ahead of Canada because real estate regulation is a lot softer in those countries. So tokenizing massive real estate projects just makes a lot of sense. You can easily fund projects, you can create projects. So you're seeing a lot of that in countries like Brazil, Mexico. So it's something that I'd be interested to see where it goes globally.
With that in mind, what can people expect this year? Are you guys doing anything fundamentally different? Or, because, I mean, this is an event that's really popular, of course, that people have been going to for years. I can't believe it's my third year. I imagine people have been going since year one. That would be 6 years, by the way, I think, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's 6 editions of Blockchain Futurist this year. We took a 1.5 break due to COVID-19. So it's probably it would be the 8th year like the event has been on, but 6th one happening just due to timing.
Yeah.
But lots of things are different. We do always have something new and exciting coming up. It really comes down to what our sponsors are doing, what activations they want to do. One of our big sponsors, LTD, is throwing a 400-person VIP boat event. That's going to be right at the actual conference itself. It'll be pulling up on the day one.
Obviously, Blockchain North will be there. We'll talk about this.
Blockchain North is fully on board for sure. Just bring your captain's hat. You might have to drive the boat. It's gonna be
That's good. Actually, my parents used to have a boat, so I don't know how well I would do. But
yeah, no, it's pretty full. Like, well, we're finding that a lot of new projects are coming to us this year. That it's exciting, and it's from all walks of life, and internationally, we're getting a lot of companies come. We have a very strong Canadian presence, probably stronger than ever. We've had, I think, 45% returning sponsors, which is our highest percentage rate we've ever had.
You're talking about this year?
This year. So it tells us that, one, the Canadian market's growing really rapidly and getting more mature. 2, people really value the face-to-face interactions. Like, all of crypto is an online-based thing, but there's like generations of people that have gone to crypto, I always say. So what we're finding now is like the 2020 NFTs Solano meme world that's past that doesn't really know that there's been a crypto world prior to 2020, which call themselves OGs a lot of times. We're finding that they're really figuring out blockchain futurists this year, and they're coming to the party. They're coming to the event and trying to learn about all the other aspects of the industry in itself. And so that's another really great thing we're seeing as new audiences. And then outside of that, we made a big push this year for investor passes. So these are big investment firms, VCs, crypto funds. We went out to them actively to make them to come to the conference so they can see what kind of projects there are in Canada, what can they get involved with. And outside of that, obviously, we do have our hackathon, which always produces some really great products and projects. And then outside of that, that brings the developer community to Toronto, which is a highly coveted community within the industry.
And of course, a fantastic lineup of speakers. I'm looking at it right now. Some familiar faces, some new faces. One name, I don't know if she's new this year or, to Futurist ever, but is Perianne Boring, who's anything but boring on her socials. It's so bold out of the US with the, what is her organization called again?
It's the Digital Chamber. So out of the US, it's one of the largest advocacy groups in the US, but they have a Canadian chapter as well, the Digital Chamber of Commerce. Perianne, I think, has been a speaker in the past, but she is definitely a really great speaker to come look at and learn from and get a big macro view of what's going on in the digital space.
Yeah. Awesome. Really, really cool. Look, the big news, of course, the elephant in the room that we haven't breached yet is your sort of merger, or you can qualify it as you want, with Emerald out of the US, really a massive B2B event organizer, basically. Tell us about this. Is this something that was in the works for a long time? What does it mean for Futurist? I understand that you still have an event in Canada, but now you'll have another one in the US. Please just tell us a little bit about that news, and congratulations.
Yeah, this is wonderful news. We've been running Web3 events since 2013. Blockchain Futurist has had a big rise on the global stage. It's probably second or third biggest in North America, but one of the big stops on the international roadshow. So we've been able to grow the Canadian the community and bring people in focus to Canada every year. And Emerald and actually a few other buyers that were looking to inquire about getting into the Web3 space. These are all large producers of trade shows. They were all very interested, and they got approached, and it's taken over a year. It takes a long time to merge different companies and go through due diligence processes. But it's a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. It's called Emerald. They have 150 different trade events. The great part about this is we have the backing and the partner to do some really big expansions to make this event even better. So the Toronto show will still be existing. Will it be at the same venue? We'll have to figure that out as we grow.
That's been a question on people's minds for a long time.
Exactly. So I think we have at least this year left, and we have done some expansion of the footprint outdoors. But you're right. We're probably at the capacity of what this venue can hold. And as this industry grows, we're going to see that this year, which is a great thing. There's a lot of benefits to that venue than any other place as well. The other part of the big acquisition part is that we're going to expand to the US. And it's been a long time coming, a long time people asking us, hey, can you take this on the road? Can we do it somewhere else? And we just think that with the US market opening up, being so much of our neighbor, and we have so many connections, so many companies that sponsor Futurists every year out of the US, we think it's a great time to expand into the US. We're looking at some very key cities to expand into, so stay tuned for that big announcement. That should be coming out shortly.
Rumor has it that it might be Vegas, but I understand that is still to be defined. I have to ask you, though, first, again, congratulations. Amazing achievement, and it's always nice to see a Canadian company expand into the US, the holy grail, I suppose, or the logical progression, I would say. But I imagine, as you said, it took a year to pull it off. I imagine that, given the ups and the downs you've gone through over the previous 10 years or so, you must have had doubts that something like this would ever even be possible. And just in general, have you ever had sort of second guesses about your, let's say, allegiance to crypto and to blockchain, given how hard it's been for you and for your sponsors and your partners? And
Yeah.
I mean, or have you just always been completely sure and convinced and steadfast?
Yeah, like everyone has their moments, right? Like, why am I in this? Like, where is this market going? Like, you live on a knife's edge with crypto. It's like any news can change the industry at any time, good or bad. We've been lucky enough that over time it's been good, right? Yeah. So I think the first part of your question was, did you ever see this happening? I'm going to say no in a lot of ways. Like last year, it started becoming more possible. But when you're 10 people in a bar and you're just talking about this thing that's revolutionizing the world, and your family and all your friends think you're insane for the longest period of time until it's actually picked up by the world, and it becomes more normalized. No, you don't think of it in those moments. But when you do, because at that moment you believe in something, right? And I believed in blockchain and Bitcoin, and it was the reason why I quit my career banking and left it all so I can just pursue this. So I've always been a true believer. Have I had my ups and downs? Like every chart in crypto, yes. Sometimes you believe, sometimes you don't, and then sometimes something else happens that makes you believe again. So I think the lesson there is to stick with it. You never know what's coming down the path. And you got to understand that this industry is still in its infancy, and it's only going to grow. And so there's going to be so many opportunities that come our way.
Yeah. I really appreciate your candid answer. I mean, had you said, look, I never doubted it, I mean, obviously, had you said, I've always doubted it, that would have been weird too. But it's a show, I think, of intelligence and humility to say that, of course, sometimes you get a bit shaken by all the headwinds. But another question I want to ask you about challenges is more on the organizational side, because pulling something off like this, I've organized a couple of events, not on my own. Of course, you never do. With up to maybe 400 people. And that was already a real, frankly, a headache for me. I've always thought since I've known you guys that if we organize an event, Blockchain North, we will work with you guys somehow. Yeah. What's one of the worst nightmares you've faced? Are you able to share like sort of an anecdote of something that happened where you're like, oh my God, my world is caving in, how we're going to fix this or keep moving forward? But of course you did, so that's why maybe it's fun for people.
Yeah, of course. I mean, events are natural drama whenever you're running them, when you're in them, leading up to them. Like, at any point you have really great weeks, you have really bad weeks, like any event, like any job, whatever that is. To pull off something, it starts, the 2,000 person number, the 3,000 person number is very manageable in a lot of sense, depending on, how many people you have, how great they are. Once you start going past that, you're the 5,000, 6,000 number, things change. A lot of things in that event get a life of its own and are out of your control. So you have to understand that if you've done the right preparations, the right operations, most things in general will be covered. And then you have to handle the fires as they come, right? Like I'll give you an example. Last year, for the first time in 6 years, the power went out.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So, there was nothing worse for an event producer than the power going out. It was just a freak accident because there was some construction happening in the area, and the power went out, and they got it back up within, I think it was a couple of minutes. But
12 minutes. That must have felt like 12 hours to you.
Yeah, I think it was less than 12 minutes. It wasn't too long, but to us, the amount of scrambling that was going on, trying to figure out how we hitting the core problem. So that was like one of my worst nightmares that came true. And we made it work, in the end of the day. It was still an amazing event. It was the biggest one ever that we've had. So, you got to be a natural problem solver to be in events. And then you have to be a natural people person, because in the end of the day, it's all people, connections, sponsors, speakers, it's the people that make it happen. And it's not just myself and my other co-founder. At the end of the day, we do have a team of 15 people working on it full time. And it's gotten better every year, I would say. And this year is probably going to be the best one we've ever done with how comfortable we are, the experience that we have. And then, fires will happen. You just got to.
And I suppose the market being favorable always adds a certain energy, a certain vibe, right?
Correct. The market being positive and into a bull market, we think still are. It is making the conversations a lot easier. It's bringing more attention to it. Mm-hmm. It's also adding more dynamic to the actual conference and the type of companies that are coming, type of companies that are sponsoring, type of speakers that we have.
Yeah.
There's been no more than ever more interest from Web 2 into the conference itself.
Okay.
And that's something we always pride ourselves on, is how do we get more non-Web 3 people into Web 3? So this is something that we're very excited about. We have some really great companies that are coming to check it out for sure. And hopefully we put on a really good show this year.
And by the way, speaking of your team, because I think that is really important to shout them out. So there's you and Tracy as the co-founders and partners. There is Laura. There is Christine. I mean, I'm forgetting because I don't know them all, but I know these. I want to make sure that they're being recognized as well.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot here. Crystal is our stage manager, which is the saint because to run 3 stages over 2 days, 250 speakers. That job alone is a beast.
Yeah. And I was just thinking earlier that when you were saying power is the worst thing that could happen, I suppose the second worst thing would be the bar being shut down.
Yeah. Well, listen, we hosted a Rebel in Cabana, and the one thing they don't mess around with is the bar. They know how to run a good bar. So
it's pretty much in the middle
right now. The bar will never shut down.
Yeah, even its location, it's kind of in the middle of the venue. Outside, it's also kind of in the middle there. So exactly. You can have 2 outside, if I remember correctly. Well, look, as we wrap up, we shared your challenges. What is your most memorable moment in past conferences? What is the moment when, I don't know, you might have just, maybe you were at the VIP section there overlooking the event. And I don't know if it's like a feeling of achievement. Maybe you were on a boat or whatever in a closet trying to find a mop. I don't know where you were, but what's the moment when you felt, wow, we've quote unquote made it? And I know you're going to say, you've never made it, but what was that for you?
I think every year has had those special moments. I can name like many of them, to be honest with you. The last couple that really come to mind was last year's ship final party was really, really exciting. It was overarching. We could see across the whole part that everyone was super excited. And in a bear market, everyone was still very positive. I thought that was really great. I think Vitalik 2 years ago, his keynote talking about where Ethereum was going to go was one of the first ever keynotes he gave that he actually gave a roadmap to when they were going to go from proof of work to proof of stake. That was exciting. It gave me goosebumps I was in the backstage looking at the audience, and it was a packed house. That was a really great piece. And then year one, like rest in peace, like having Larry King come to the conference. And that's when you realize, holy crap, like what is this crypto thing that someone of that stature was willing to come and like moderate a panel in our first year that we put the event up in 8 weeks. And like, and now thinking about that, it's like, how do we pull that off? I guess we were young and brazen, and crypto was flying at that time. So
that's amazing.
Those are probably the 3 I think about recently. But there's like, it goes from that to like, I had to save the day by getting a mop.
So, that's why I don't know why I thought of that, but I thought
it's actually
you're running around, you're doing so much. There's no small club when you're running an event. You just got to do what needs to happen. Who, by the way, would be your dream speaker at Futurist? Let's tag them and shout them out now. Who have you been trying to get, or would you like to get maybe even in future events?
Well, everyone's dream is, I guess, Elon Musk. If you can get him to come to the conference. But that's a little bit out of our playbook at this moment. But I think folks like that, we've been lucky enough to get most of the top 100 founders. That's changing all the time though. Like who was in the top 100 4 years ago is now 70% probably turned over. It's probably not the same. I would say, right now, getting someone like a what do you call it? So like I said, Elon Musk or someone who's like, if you can get a good interview with CZ. I mean, he's not around right now.
Yeah, but he's
technically Canadian. But if you can get him to come speak at this point, would be a really big win. Just to see, his wealth of experience.
What about a Brian Armstrong then?
Brian Armstrong would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, Coinbase is a major sponsor of the conference itself. We've talked to him many times. It really comes down to his schedule. it could happen. It's not like a no so far.
Okay. Well, we're going to tag them, and who knows, maybe that's the nudge he needs. And final question for you, as for all of our interviewees, and perhaps the hardest question here, because you've been talking about your wheelhouse, everything you've already done and you know so well. But now I'm going to ask you to predict the future. I mean, as we said earlier, you have, a unique access. You've been around long enough to see ups and downs and trends. What are the surest about blockchain, crypto, Web3, however you name it, over the next, let's say, 2 years?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the surest, with so many discussions I've had with big players in the space at many conferences, VIP dinners, it's almost assured that Bitcoin will go up, just down to the scarcity of what it is and the utility that it has as being some sort of digital gold, I would say. So I would say if I had to make like a price prediction, and Bitcoin does lead everything, I would say we're probably at 135,000 by the end of next year. So almost double, you're probably double Bitcoin, which will likely almost double Ethereum, which will be $8,000 to $10,000. And then all of the projects behind that and where they're going and the communities. I mean, in the end of the day, crypto is about community, and it still is. And you can see the coins and the companies that are really rising to the top were community first, and then everybody else comes behind that. So I just see the market growing rapidly from here. It just matters on how many more people can we get into the industry.
Yeah, and I would just add, and this is coming from me here, that I think the U.S. elections are a major milestone, notwithstanding what I said about the Biden team also now courting companies. But I think it's pretty clear that, like him or not, or hate him or love him, that if Trump is elected, that would make a big difference. My concerns are about, how Canada and how do we compete from Canada with such a major player. But look, thanks. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. It's also been great partnering with Futurist for the last few years. I want to go to Vegas. I want to go to wherever you're going to be in the States. So let's keep talking. Good luck, because you obviously still have a lot to do in the next, just 2 months, just over 2 months. But of course, we have a lot of faith in you. And to everybody who's been watching, thank you, especially if you stayed till the end. If you have any questions for Mahyar or for me, put them in the comments, reach out on social media, email me if you want. You could do that on our website, blockchainnorth.ca. And of course, we appreciate all the support. So the likes, the comments, the shares, and go share Futurist. And if you don't already follow, make sure to follow Futurist, the event in Canada, and frankly, one of the biggest in North America. Mahyar, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks again. Greetings to your team, and keep well, everybody. See you at Futurist, obviously. Cheerio.
Thank you.